Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's live webinar, Real Examples of Fiery Automation. It's great to have you all here today. My name is Joanna Portela, and today I'll be your host. And if you could send us a quick hello on the chat and let us know where you're from. Are you from the US, the UK, or maybe you're a bit more international? We're always very interested to see where our attendees are located. Our team today is also coming from different locations. I am in Germany, for example, and yeah, I can see here already people letting us know. We have here a bunch of people from the US, from all over the US. Yeah, very great. Great to see you all here. Also UK, I see here. It's nice to see you with us today. And before we get started, I'd like to go over a few housekeeping items. First, please note that the webinars will be recorded and made available for you to access later. Additionally, feel free to use the chat function to ask any questions or make comments throughout the presentation. Our team will be monitoring the chat and will be answering any questions you may have during the Q&A session at the end of the webinar. Now, I would like to introduce our presenters for the day. We have Heather Long, our Product Marketing Manager, Paul Ujevich, our Technical Sales Architect, and Tom Miller, our Senior Professional Service Manager. Now let's get started. We have an exciting and informative session ahead, so get ready to take notes, ask questions, and enjoy the presentation. Heather, take it away.
Thank you, Joanna. Hi, everyone. So today we'll be showing how Fiery JobFlow can help take your print business to the next level with automation. Fiery JobFlow increases productivity, reduces touch points, and streamlines prepress workflows to ultimately reduce costs. During this webinar, we'll share some real-world examples of businesses that have successfully implemented JobFlow workflows that were tailored specific to their needs. Here at Fiery, we are passionate about helping businesses unlock success through automation. So let's dive into how JobFlow can revolutionize your print production. If you're here, you probably understand the frustrations of manual touch points and inefficiencies. You may be spending too much time on repetitive job setups, manually inspecting every job for issues, and lack an effective communication tool for your customers to easily approve jobs. Perhaps you find yourself wasting valuable resources due to manual touch points that are prone to errors, and spend precious time sorting and rerouting files. But the good news is that automation can transform your workflow, and we're here to help share some valuable insights. All right, now let's imagine a world where your production process is seamless. Jobs flow seamlessly into your queue and are sent to the right workflows. They are processed with the correct print settings. File issues are identified and corrected, plus customers are kept in the loop, all without any human interaction. So it sounds like a dream, right? Well, the good news is that we can achieve all of this with Fiery JobFlow. You can set up workflows that require just one click to submit files, and the rest can all be done automatically. We can help bridge the gap between your current prepress setup and the perfect workflow. So according to the InfoTrends research, only 12% of printed jobs are fully automated today. And that means that there's a lot of room for improvement. And in just 2 years, that number is projected to double. Print service providers like yourself say that improving business automation is one of their top initiatives. So take a moment and think about how many of your print jobs are produced without any intervention today. The faster that you adopt automation, the more competitive and differentiated you'll become. All right, let's take a look at how Fiery JobFlow can help get you started with automating. It's an easy to deploy pre-press automation solution that connects with any Fiery driven printer. With JobFlow, you can say goodbye to repetitive manual setups and human errors. You get ready to print files in just one step. By automating common job types, you can free up your staff's time for higher value jobs or just even more interesting projects. And the best part is you can leverage Fiery products and features that you already use, such as job property settings that you've configured in, let's say, Fiery Impose or Job Expert, and even pre-flight. JobFlow workflows are easy to deploy and get up and running in the same day. Then, if you have specific needs and require more customized workflows, Fiery also offers professional services to come in and help you achieve those goals. Here at Fiery, we try to make it easy for customers to evolve during their automation journey. So you can get started with zero interest using our free version, Fiery JobFlow Base. This comes pre-installed and included on all external Fiery servers. And it's available for embedded servers with the optional Fiery automation package. So as you become more familiar with automation, you can explore more advanced tools by upgrading to the paid version of Fiery JobFlow. Now, I want to take a moment here to highlight everything that you can achieve with the free base version in this graphic. So you can send files from a network or cloud location, or just drop them into the workflow. You can convert files to PDF, reorganize pages, such as splitting or extracting specific pages to print. You can perform a pre-flight check, apply image enhancement for photos, batch and collect jobs to optimize your media, and impose cards and book lists with the exact location and the finishing marks. That way you can make post-production even more efficient. When you upgrade to the paid version of Fiery JobFlow, you get even more advancements. So you can use advanced scripting. That way you can integrate job processing from third-party applications. You can upscale images to enlarge them without losing any resolution. You can perform even more sophisticated pre-flighting and correcting jobs with in-focus pit stop technology. You can enable external and internal reviewers to approve jobs remotely. Plus, you can intelligently route jobs to other workflows using rules. Fiery JobFlow has been helping print businesses around the world for many, many years. And we're really proud to share some of these quotes from them here on screen. And we hope this gives you a glimpse into the potential that Fiery JobFlow has to improve your workflow. It's our goal to share some real-world examples with you to spark some interest, some new ideas, and also see just some tasks that are easy to tackle with Fiery JobFlow. And for that, we have Paul Ujevich with us here today. And Paul is one of our experienced JobFlow experts who works with customers in many different market segments, helping them to automate. So today we have 5 real-world examples we're going to go through together. So Paul, let's go ahead and get started with the first one.
All right, Heather. Let me get control to share my screen. Get started. Right. So the first example, I'll let you introduce it,
Yes.
Heather.
Great. So yeah, this first one, we're going to go through a pre-built workflow, and this workflow is available to you in the online library for the paid version of JobFlow. You can download it and get started quickly. This name for this workflow is the routing jobs by file name. So in this solution, the user can submit a batch of jobs and JobFlow will route them to the applicable workflow based on their file name. So for example, if a job goes through and is assigned to the business card workflow, for example, JobFlow will check and fix the orientation and bleed. Then if it's sent to the booklet workflow, JobFlow will split the pages larger than letter or A4. So let's go ahead and dive into this one, Paul.
All right. Yeah. So as Heather mentioned, we do have a repository of online workflows that are easily accessible right from the JobFlow panel, basically the web page. If you click on Fiery JobFlow Library, it will take you right to the EF or the Fiery web page for JobFlow and the library of workflows. And this is the two workflows I'll be showing here. The beginning ones, the routing workflows, are part of this repository. So route based on file name is a great workflow to download and to start with if you have full JobFlow, because it's one of the, I feel it's one of the building blocks of automation. So we have two different types of routing workflows on EFI.com or Fiery.com. And with these workflows, basically this workflow here you see as an example routes the jobs by the file name itself. So if I show you the files will drop into this workflow, you can see there's a key in the file name that basically designates what workflow I want to run these jobs through in JobFlow. So I can select my jobs and I can either drag them to the network smart folder that's shared by JobFlow, or I can drag them to the web page. And this style workflow allows me to basically have one input workflow that will find that key in the file name, as in this example, and then route it to a workflow using rules and logic that we have in the full version of JobFlow to be able to move jobs to a subsequent workflow that actually will do additional manipulations on the job. So it makes it super easy for a user to just have one workflow that they can drop their properly named jobs, in this case, into, and JobFlow will take care of the rest to route it to those workflows. So if we look at and then we click on the file name of one of these jobs that have been run through, we'll actually see as we scroll down that it started in the routing workflow and then it got passed to JF Route Booklet, which has additional corrections and imposition templates assigned to it to set up this job completely ready to print by just dropping the file in the workflow. So if we look at this file, you can see this was a one-up booklet file and JobFlow imposed it as a booklet. We also have all sorts of examples with this that you can apply to your own business, as you know, layouts for calendars, layouts for business cards as example, to set the jobs up, even doing things like notepads where we can actually duplicate the job using the tools like InFocus, PitStop, etc., and connect modules in JobFlow to use different utilities to actually lay out the jobs in different fashions automatically, again, to be able to have the job received at your Fiery controller ready to print. This was a notepad that was just one up. We duplicated it into a 50 sheet pad, basically ready to print on your Fiery driven printer. The other workflow with this one is route based on file or job type. So with job type, we can actually, instead of looking at the file name, we can actually look at certain properties of the job. And this is an example where we're looking for portrait orientated jobs, and we'll route it to a certain workflow. If the jobs were X amount of pages, we can route it to a different workflow that's built for the job that's made for X amount of pages. So multiple ways to use this type of workflow in JobFlow. And again, I feel it's kind of a building block. And as you see some of the additional workflows we're going to show you, you'll see that we use this concept in many ways in JobFlow.
Great. And Paul, for that, based on the file name, does it matter where specifically it's listed in that name and saying booklet?
No, no, we can look anywhere in the file name to route it to the workflow. Yeah, we can detect it in any position. It just needs to be a unique pattern, you know, a unique enough file name within the file name that we can key off of it.
All right, great. Let's move on to our next example.
Yeah. So
So
the
this
yeah, go
this
ahead.
customer, they needed to print doctor trading cards, but they had a unique requirement. So they wanted to print them in a randomized order to pass them out and distribute at events. So Paul, how did you help this customer address their needs?
Yeah, so with this customer, we start using one of the real powerful features of full job flow is to be able to create a connect module in JobFlow. So a connect module is basically a script that we can create with the Fiery Professional Services, as well as you can create. We do give you online, again, in that library. If you look at the JobFlow library, we actually have example connect modules, as well as there's a cookbook available online, to be able to create modules that will do things that are beyond the built-in capability of JobFlow and really start, you know, being able to take your workflows and take them outside the normal box. It lets you do very unique things. So for this customer, they had to randomize playing cards manually after they would print them. And they wanted a way to be able to not have to do that shuffling manually after the fact and package it. They wanted to have the jobs come down, those cards come down random every time. As well as with this workflow, we're duplicating the cards. So what they would submit to the workflow is a job like this. Again, we're using the file name, the key on the quantity. The quantity of cards here is 250 cards. And you can see it's just one of each card. These cards are two-sided, so you'll see front and back. And basically what this workflow will do is it will allow us to drop this file into the workflow. It's going to duplicate the cards 250 times by detecting that file name. And here was with Heather's question earlier with this connect module, we can actually define the delimiter. We can find how we're going to find that quantity anywhere in the file. And then we use this module to randomize those cards after they've been duplicated so that when we're using a Fiery Impose template, they're laid out uniquely for each run of the job. So if we go to the queue, yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was just going to point out about this Fiery Impose. Does that come standard with JobFlow?
It does not come standard, but you can use an existing license you have. The Impose license just needs to be resident where JobFlow is loaded. So it needs to be on that server. And Tom, later in the session will too, we have some unique bundles that we can give with JobFlow and Impose to actually include that if you do want to have an Impose license where JobFlow is loaded and still use it where you're using it today. So we have options, but you do
Great.
need a license of Impose where JobFlow is loaded to use your Impose templates.
Okay.
Yeah. And you can see here, the cards are laid out uniquely on the page, ready to print. This customer, you can see by the barcode, was using an automated finisher to trim out these cards every time. And if we actually go down and look at a job that I previously ran through JobFlow, you can see the layout's different between the two card sets. So every time this job is run, it lays out the cards uniquely for that print run.
Great.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
So let's go on to the next example. So for this customer, they wanted to mail out thank you cards, thank you postcards from their fire department just to show their appreciation for donations that they received from their local community. Previously, they were manually setting up each job every time that they needed to print a batch, which was very time consuming and inefficient, to say the least. So, Paul, can you tell us how you help them automate the process using JobFlow workflows and also Fiery Freeform?
Yeah, so this is a great example of using a feature that we've had on the Fireys for a long time. called Fiery Freeform. And with this particular customer, they were doing these jobs manually every time. They were running it the traditional way, having to load a static background like you see here, one up on the Fiery controller. They had to impose the job manually. They had to then store it in one of the freeform backgrounds on the Fiery controller. And then they would take their data file and actually load it on the Fiery controller, select that background, and then release it to print so that it would merge the jobs together and run a variable data print job on the Fiery controller. Well, they wanted to make this simpler for their users. So what they did is they actually used JobFlow to have a preset set up for the Fiery. So we can set a preset up to store the master on the Fiery, and we can use an impose template inline in the workflow so that when the customer basically takes the background for this type of card, they can drop the master on this workflow. It stores it on the Fiery controller, and then they can take that data file and they can drop it in a workflow that has a server preset to use that data file and that background we just loaded on the Fiery controller in the previous workflow. And you can see we even are doing some manipulations to rotate the pages on this file so that when it gets imposed, it lays out perfectly with the background. So you can do manipulations like shifting, etc., in the workflow to optimize that file for that background that's already resident on the Fiery controller. And when we go to Command Workstation, you can see if we preview the data file that it merged the jobs together. And one of the benefits of the Fiery controller too, when you're using freeform on it, is that you'll see here that it actually shows records. So now it understands that this is a variable data job and it's only going to process that background file one time. And then it will just process the individual records as far as the addresses that are getting laid out uniquely on the job for each record, for each sheet, basically. And then they can run it through an automated trimmer for finishing. So again, we're taking a process where there's a lot of steps that there could be potential for errors in each step. And now we're making it so the customer can actually just drop the files into a workflow. All those decisions are done for them. They just need to know they drop the data file in the data folder, the master file in the master folder, and the jobs come ready to print to Command Workstation. You can actually do this basic, what I just showed you, with JobFlow base and a license of Impose with JobFlow. The customer that implemented this workflow, they even took it another level and they used a routing workflow like I showed you in the beginning to even automate it more. So it would just look at certain keys in the file name, say, okay, this is a master. It needs to go to the master workflow for X, size layout. So then they really only had one folder they needed to drop all their files in for their users, and it would take care of it. It would route it to the different layouts they had for a few different types of jobs they did and automatically build the jobs.
Oh, great. Yeah, so it looks much more efficient, be able to only process that master file once and then all the addresses separately. Great.
Yeah. All right.
All right. We'll go on to our next example here. So for this customer, they had a specific requirement to print medical documents with varying levels of urgency that you can see there in the file names. So they needed a way to be able to tag these jobs as either high priority, which was to be able to print them in 15 minutes or less, a rush job to be printed in 30 minutes or less, or just a standard job to be printed at any time. So how did you help them achieve this to be able to flag those jobs appropriately in the time-sensitive manner, Paul?
Yeah, so this is a great example of using a few different Fiery tools together into one workflow and using our latest version of JobFlow, version 2.9. In 2.9, we released a feature that you can actually have, if you look all the way at the bottom of the screen, I know it's a little hard to see, but you can actually add a connect module after the Fiery controller. in a JobFlow workflow. This allows us to use tools like the Fiery API to actually do some automatic types of controlling of jobs and assigning properties in Command Workstation itself after the file leaves Fiery JobFlow. So with this workflow, if I show you how it works here in the video, you'll see if I drop the files with the different file names, designating the priority into the JobFlow workflow, JobFlow will start processing these jobs. And if we quickly go over to the JobFlow queue, you'll see them processing, and then quickly to Fiery Command Workstation before the API takes over. You'll see that all the jobs are going to hold. And now you can see the API, that script after the Fiery output is taking over. It's not only setting print rush to the 15-minute jobs, the immediate jobs, it's setting print next to the jobs that need to be done in 30 minutes or less. And then you can see it's actually tagging the jobs too with the priorities, so that an operator that is working at the Fiery controller can see the priority. They can know how fast the job needs to get out very easily by looking at Command Workstation. And then if for some reason a job got held up or needed to be reprinted, they know what priority they need to print that job at and how fast to get it out.
Yeah, it's nice to see those
yeah.
tags right there visually with the icons as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, so we're actually leveraging and we're using a lot of features that are unique to Fiery controllers with this workflow. So yeah.
And then, Paul, for that column, is that normal to see, or do they have to add that tags
Yeah,
column?
so to add the tags option to Command Workstation, what you do is you actually, when we're in Command Workstation, you can right mouse click and you can click Add New, and you can see we have lots of different options under Job Info. Tags is where you can add that to your workflow, and you can actually drag these options and move them around to where you want. You can see it's changing here with user, etc. So I just drag that to the front of my Command Workstation, and now those tags will show up if a job's tagged very easily, and you can see it very easily in Command Workstation.
Oh, great. Yeah, and I'm sure that's very helpful and useful for them in the medical field when they really need
Yes.
to process those jobs in the right time frame.
Yeah, and for this customer, it was super critical. And what we hear from a lot of medical insurance companies, things like that, they will actually get fined if certain documents aren't out of their system and like in mailing within X amount of time. So it was critical for them to have a system where they could see the status of the jobs, see that they were getting processed in a proper time frame. And we were able to do that with JobFlow, the API, and some of the advanced features on the Fiery controller.
All right. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. Let's move on to our final customer example. So this customer produces tire labels, and they needed a way to print different types and quantities of their tire labels based on the sizing and brand, and they need to lay them out into different lanes based on the media they were using for their inkjet web press. So Paul, can you share how you were able to help this customer automate printing of the tire labels?
Yeah, so this is a great example, and it uses in their case, they had a third-party system that generates a CSV style ticket that has the path basically to where the two different files, in their case, they could have, this is an example with 2 lanes, which is basically 2 labels next to each other. They could have 3 lanes, 4 lanes, and they would have additional information in there. But one of the great features of, again, having connect modules where we can leverage scripting within JobFlow, and then being able to use that to integrate with third-party systems that may output a job ticket, a custom job ticket like this. We can create a workflow that basically they have quantity in this information, they have the file path to where to pull it from the network repository, and the order they need to be printed in. And what we did is we basically created this workflow that allows them, using the connect module, to define how many lanes is this workflow for, do we want gutter, etc., between the laid out jobs, and where we're going to be pulling the jobs, the backgrounds from. And I can take that CSV file, drop it in this workflow, and now JobFlow is going to start processing that CSV ticket, pulling those PDF files and merging them together, doing the imposition, laying them out, sending them to the Fiery controller, ready to print without any user intervention. And the great thing about this is not only can we do this with the CSV file, we can use JSON files, we can use XML files, etc., different structured text type tickets, and read that information, be able to pull the PDF files, do any kind of manipulations that need to be done with those files, and then send them to the Fiery controller ready to print. So in this case, if we look in JobFlow, we can see the jobs are laid out, the tickets are laid out, or the tire tags are laid out next to each other. And if we go to Command Workstation with this customer, one of the big things was they wanted all the jobs in order because this was for an inkjet web press with our Impress Fiery. So they wanted all the jobs in order, and they wanted all the quantities defined for the jobs so that they could load a roll of paper, because this is a roll-to-roll inkjet web press. So they wanted to basically build the run that they were going to run on that roll of paper, then quickly be able to click print, release the jobs, and they would all run in the order that were sent to JobFlow. So this takes out just a ton of, again, work for the customer to have to manually merge these jobs together, manually go in and enter quantities and fill their queue with, hundreds of jobs potentially that need to be run through the day. And it can all be done automatically. So really an operator in the print shop just sees the jobs come in. They see that this job is one run, and they can right mouse click, release it when the paper is loaded on the machine, and just let the machine run. So again, you're automating, you're taking out chances of error for the run, etc., using JobFlow to really do all that automation for your print shop.
Great. Thank you, Paul. Yeah. Kept hearing you say manual processes and makes you cringe, right?
Yep. Yes. Yeah. It's really, we're really trying to get rid of all those kind of repetitive, mundane tasks you have to do in your print shop, automate it with software, namely JobFlow, and then you can spend your time working on other things that are much more important that you need to do that are unique. So yeah, tools like JobFlow are really valuable for a print shop these days.
Excellent. And then Joanna, if you could change presenters to myself again. So, all right, thank you, Paul. Thank you so much for showcasing all those customer workflows. It's great to see how JobFlow could be used to customize all those different scenarios and different production needs. There we go. We would like to highlight that many of those examples did require some level of customization. And so that's where our Fiery Professional Services can come in and help if you don't have the knowledge or even just the bandwidth to do it yourself. So Tom Miller is here with us today to provide some insights on how professional services team can assist you in building those advanced workflows that could be tailor-made to fit your needs. Welcome, Tom.
Yeah, thank you, Heather. Yeah, it's exciting. Some very cool workflows that we've seen there. These users leverage professional services expertise. They reached out and said, "Hey, we've got these projects. Can you help us do this?" And that's the start of this whole journey for them. They reached out because they realized we have the expert product knowledge. We have extensive experience working in corporate and high production print environments, so we understand the challenges there. We have also been at the forefront of digital print for over 30 years, so we have the knowledge as well to help optimize print processes using our best-in-class Fiery solutions. And we also have direct access to Fiery engineering and the product designers. So if questions or issues do arise during a project, we can get quick answers. All right, so where do we do this? We do this kind of everywhere. There's a lot of print technologies that use Fiery, whether that's cut sheet, inkjet, labels, inline manufacturing, and a lot more across multiple industries. But really, no matter the industry you're in, professional services is here to help you get what you need out of it. Okay, some example services we have. So Fiery setup and training. So we can provide services to help set up, configure, and train you on your Fiery, whether it's you or maybe a customer that you might have that's new to Fiery, or maybe you want some more advanced training that you think, boy, you know, there's some tools here that I don't know what they're for. We can help you with that as well. And as we do that, we like to optimize the Fiery as well based on what you print. So if you're production printing, if you're high-end graphics, you know, we want to make sure that the Fiery understands the environment that it's in. And of course, great color. Everybody wants great color. We want it all the time. So we can help you achieve consistent, accurate color and exceptional image quality, really no matter what you're printing on for a substrate or media. And then the big thing today is security, right? So we want to make sure that we can help you secure your print environment by securing and hardening the Fiery. So that just kind of means it's harder for anybody to gain access to the Fiery. So what we do is we'll work with your specific IT team on different software that they may use in-house. And so we want to make sure that it's installed on the Fiery, that it's not going to compromise anything else the Fiery is doing or any services that it needs to have running. And then integration solutions. So a lot of folks will have a CRM or a web storefront, perhaps an ERP system, and they would like for that bidirectional information from Fiery into it to be enabled. We've done that. We can help with that as well. And then, of course, automating processes for more efficiency, as we've seen with these workflows. You know, it has saved a lot of time for customers, and you may have something that you think we would be able to help with. So we'd love to help you with that as well. And then we have different service types. So our JobFlow professional services, it's available as either remote or an on-site engagement. And so, of course, remote is we'll remote in and work with you or your customers or your user, whoever you want, and we will do training that way. Or maybe it's on-site, so you'd want us to be there. We can come to your site as well. And then the remote time can be split up too. So we may say, oh, this engagement's going to be a day. Well, we don't expect you to sit for a whole day, but we can break it up. Maybe we want to do 4 hours one day, 4 hours the next day. We can do that as well. And then all customization hours are performed remotely, meaning we work on the workflows, we create them, and then we'll install them on your JobFlow workstation. So, and those services are available in the mainland US, Canada, France, Germany, Switzerland, Belgium, Netherlands, Luxembourg, and the UK in English, French, and German languages. And then we have Fiery Professional Services for display graphics. That's available in North America in English only, in Germany, Switzerland, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Belgium, UK, and then the rest of Europe. And that's available in English, French, and German. And then we have some of our other Fiery professional services that are available in the US and Canada. So services kind of vary based on the location. Okay, and how much time does it take to create these cool customized workflows that we just looked at? Again, I do want to emphasize that we build the customized workflows in our office for the required number of days that we're going to see here. And then we schedule time to remotely install and train them on your Fiery JobFlow workstation. So the first job, for example, which was a jobs by file name, that's publicly available from our JobFlow site. So there's really no customization needed. We kind of built that and put that up there to get people started. Then we have the randomized doctor trading cards and mail merge firefighter postcard. That was 3 days. And that's 3 days customization. So again, that means that we built that in-house, and then we scheduled time to install it and train on that, you know, for your environment. So it wasn't 3 days on the phone with somebody. Then the next job is a print priority using the application programming interface, or API. For the medical records, that was a 3-day remote engagement. And then Impose, the multiple tire labels for the web press that they ran on a Flexo machine. That was a 4-day engagement. Okay, so those are customizations. So we also have the JobFlow Impose bundle that Paul mentioned earlier. The bundle's cool because it gives you a lot of different components, and it gives you your JobFlow with a 1-year software maintenance and support agreement. It includes PitStop Pro license, and it also includes Fiery Impose. Some of these workflows require imposition, so we include that in here. And that is a 2-day remote configuration and training. Now, configuration's different than customization. Typically, customization, we think, we have to write a script for it, something very advanced, where a configuration means that we're going to spend 2 days with you. I mentioned that we have that a free workflow that's already created. We have several of those. So maybe one of those or maybe 2 of those really fits your need. So we'll include that. We'll do 2 days of configuration of that workflow for you, and then we'll do training on it as well. So that's a great option. If you don't have super advanced needs, then that's a great option. Okay, so continuing the conversation, we'd love to talk with you more. So reach out to your Fiery sales development manager or a Fiery authorized reseller. Or you can contact me directly at tom.meller@fiery.com, and or email. You can email us at proservicesinquiry@fiery.com. Heather,
All right.
back to you.
Great. Thank you, Tom. Thank you for walking through that, sharing your expertise, and just benefiting or highlighting the benefits of professional services.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you're interested in learning more about Fiery JobFlow, you can head over to efi.com/JobFlow. And here you can find a variety of resources to help you decide if JobFlow is right for your business. From there, you can watch videos, take free e-learning courses, answer qualifying questions, use an interactive ROI calculator, which is pretty cool to click through. You can also download pre-configured workflows, walk through how-to guides, and so much more. And if you're ready to test out the paid version of JobFlow, you can go here to request a 30-day free trial and take it out for a spin. And be sure to join our Fiery social media channels on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. That way you can always stay up to date with the latest news and everything in Fiery. All right, so I think it's time to open it up the floor for some questions and answers. If you have any questions about JobFlow or anything discussed in today's presentation, please feel free to ask them in the chat window.
Yes, very good. Thank you, Heather. I got a bunch of questions like this, just asking if you're recording this and if you're going to receive the recording, and the answer is yes, we're recording this and you will receive the link to the recording per email in a few days. All right, so we did get a bunch of questions here. So let's try to move forward. And at this point, actually, I also want to introduce Hans. Hans is our product line manager for JobFlow, so he's here to help us answer all of your questions. So first question, how can I install JobFlow Base?
Good day, everyone. Thank you, Joanna. Yes, how can you install JobFlow Base? So as mentioned in the presentation, if you have a fairly new Fiery controller, that runs the Windows OS, also referred to as the external servers, JobFlow is very likely already pre-installed on your Fiery. If that's not the case, then you can install JobFlow Base on any Windows machine in your print shop. The requirements are fairly modest. I have in the chat, I have linked to the webpage that lists the requirements, but basically any system that is able to run Command Workstation is perfectly capable of running Fiery JobFlow base. Once installed, it's important to remember that it's running in the background. It's a service running on that Windows machine, and anyone with a web browser that has access to that Windows machine can log into Fiery JobFlow and start creating and using workflows.
Very good. Next question is, where can I find the library of workflows to download?
So yes, if you go to efi.com/jobflow, soon to be fiery.com/jobflow, you will see a link to JobFlow library that lists all the sample workflows that we make available in Fiery JobFlow. But if you already have installed Fiery JobFlow, whether that's JobFlow or JobFlow base, there's also a link in JobFlow itself that if you click the admin or your user, there's a drop-down menu which will then show a link to JobFlow library. You can then select a sample workflow, download that sample workflow, and import it into Fiery JobFlow.
Great. The next question is, how does JobFlow work with Impose?
So also, as mentioned by Paul in the presentation, if you have a JobFlow license, when installed on a system, whether that's a Fiery or a Windows machine in your network, if you install JobFlow on that particular system, JobFlow will integrate seamlessly with Fiery-Impose. So any imposition templates that you have created on that particular system will be visible and you will be able to include those templates in a JobFlow workflow. So so if you have a single imposition license, install JobFlow on that same system. If that particular system, for instance, is a machine that is not supported by JobFlow, like for instance a Mac, an Apple Mac, which unfortunately we do not support as a platform for Fiery JobFlow, then you can, like I mentioned, you can install JobFlow on that system, or you can move the imposition license to the system where Fiery JobFlow is installed. Anyone who has access to that system then also has access to those to that imposition license and the imposition templates that are made available through Fiery JobFlow.
And I actually got the same question, but now how does it work with JobMaster?
We do not have a JobMaster module just yet. However, in an upcoming release, we will have a JobMaster module in Fiery JobFlow that uses a new JobMaster feature, and that will be made available as a module in one of our next releases.
Very good. Another question is, how do I buy JobFlow?
You can go to the efi.com web store, the e-store, or you can reach out to your vendor, your dealer, or to your EFI contact person directly, and they will be more than happy to provide you with the ways through which you can buy a JobFlow license.
Very good. And you mentioned this a couple of questions ago. Can I use JobFlow on Mac?
You can. So you cannot install JobFlow on a Mac system, but you can definitely open any web browser on that Mac system to access a JobFlow server that's installed on a Windows machine in your network. And again, as a reminder, we mentioned this multiple times, you can also install Fiery JobFlow on a Fiery that is in your network, as long as it's an external Fiery. So as long as you have a Fiery that runs the Windows OS, I believe starting with FS200, we support installing JobFlow on that system if it's not pre-installed already.
Very good. And how much is it to upgrade to InFocus pit stop license included?
So if you want to upgrade to Fiery JobFlow, the full version of Fiery JobFlow, I believe from the top of my head, that's $4,900 MSRP. That includes a JobFlow, an InFocus pit stop license. So in addition to JobFlow, the paid version of JobFlow being able to consume and use pit stop action list and pre-flight profiles, we give you a pit stop license so you can create your own pre-flight profiles and your own action lists that you can then import into Fiery JobFlow and use them in a JobFlow workflow.
Very good. Is it possible to send jobs through a third-party website to and have it go straight to workflow?
Yes, greatly depends on the type of third-party website. But we have many customers that have a web-to-print system or a web submission system. Then through various means, we either watch a network folder or we receive a job ticket in JobFlow, and then that job ticket is processed in JobFlow. It retrieves the files, and then depending on the type of job, it will apply different settings to that job. This is something that the professional services team has extensive knowledge and extensive experience with. So feel free to reach out to Tom if you have any specific questions about those workflows.
Very good. Another question is, do I get support with the free JobFlow base?
If you have the free Fiery JobFlow base, you can ask questions through EFI communities. With the paid version of Fiery JobFlow, you actually get direct support. So you can actually talk to a Fiery person who will then reach out to you in case there are questions or if there are any issues with Fiery JobFlow.
And another question is, how many workflows will professional service set up for me? So maybe this is one for Tom.
Yes. So hello. So yeah, there's really not a limit. It's based on what you need. We will just have to make sure that we create a statement of work that includes everything, and then we can work off that statement of work.
Great. And how long do we have to complete the configuration training from the bundle?
Yeah, so the bundle is it's 2 days, and what we do is we can break it up into 4-hour segments, and typically we have typically I say we have 4 to 6 weeks to do that. We'll work with you if there's other circumstance that you need a little bit more time with. We can obviously do that, or maybe it's something that you want to you're excited to get it going right away and you want to do it all at one time. We can do that as well. So we're pretty flexible.
Very good. And does JobFlow base work with Fiery XF? I guess this is back to Hans.
Yes, it does. JobFlow supports any system that bears the Fiery logo. So whether it's the embedded server, so that's the printer. If you have a printer with a box, typically on the back of the printer that runs the embedded version of Fiery JobFlow, it is supported. However, you would require the productivity package for that embedded server. But for all other servers, from mid-volume to high-speed inkjet to Fiery XF, those are all supported with Fiery JobFlow base.
And is it possible to buy JobFlow without pit stop license if we already own pit stop?
At the moment, we bundle InFocus pit stop just as a precaution. We don't want to ship Fiery JobFlow workflows that have pit stop actions that are only supported with the latest version of Enfocus Pit Stop. If you do not have that particular version, those workflows would not work. If you do already have the latest version of Enfocus Pit Stop, do reach out to your Fiery sales team member, and then we can discuss that.
Okay. And how is JobFlow different from Freeform?
It is very different. Freeform is a variable data technology that works on any Fiery. Basically, it allows you to send a master file and a variable data file. So the workflow that Paul showed early in the presentation actually automates that process. JobFlow can create workflows to do that automatically, but they are two different types of technologies.
Okay. And is there a specific way the job should be titled to work in the JobFlow by title?
No, you can, as long as the naming convention is something that JobFlow can process to identify the different types of jobs. You can download the sample workflow that Paul showed and demonstrated, and then you can update it to fit your needs. But again, as long as you have a naming convention that allows you to identify, we have customers that use the naming convention from the sample workflow, but we also have customers that use product IDs, for instance. If the file name has a specific number in the file name, then that is also supported. So JobFlow is extremely flexible with regards to that.
And how is JobFlow different from Fire hot folders?
Excellent question. JobFlow does exactly the same as a Fiery hot folder, but more. So if you compare Fiery hot folders with JobFlow Base, the free version of Fiery JobFlow, you will get additional features like page handling. You can split jobs, you can combine jobs into a single job, you can add notifications. So there's a myriad of features that is supported in the free version of Fiery JobFlow that is not supported with Fiery hot folders. Typically, the story of automation that we would like to share with our customers is that first of all, if you have Fiery hot folders and you have configured hot folders, that's a big pro for your workflow automation effort. Once you have created those and you feel comfortable with creating Fiery hot folders, you can step up to JobFlow Base, add multiple features, and then from JobFlow Base you can step up to the paid version of JobFlow, thereby increasing your automation step by step in the tempo through which you feel comfortable and with the budget that you feel comfortable with to invest in workflow automation.
Okay, so we're almost at our hour, so I'll take one more question. But I do believe if we didn't take them live, we did